Thank you very much. Thank you for that very kind introduction. Every year, the World Wildlife Fund publishes a list of animals in danger of extinction. The most recent list includes the leatherback turtle, the Sumatran tiger, and the Yangtze finless porpoise, but for some reason fails to include the publisher of literary fiction. And yet there is a very real fear, I think, that this harmless, toothless, and largely domesticated creature could very soon be going the way of a dodo. And of course, as a writer, my concern for publishers is entirely 100% selfish. You might compare me to the nematode worm, a parasite that feeds on the stomach of the Sumatran tiger. I feel very much the same as I nuzzle up in the lower intestine of Orion or Walker Books. And of course, my first thought is, if my host is going belly up, what hope is there for me? As we all know, life in the publishing jungle in general, and book sales in particular, aren't looking too great. It's a little early in the morning to reach for the whiskey bottle, so let's nip through the evidence quickly. Borders gone, Barnes & Noble not looking good, sales in US bookstores down by 22% in 5 years, UK independents in decline, 73 of them closed last year, bringing the figure to under 1,000 for the first time in my lifetime. Supermarkets such as Sainsbury's have stopped selling books, and then there's Amazon. What can I say about Amazon? Here are my favorite facts about them. Amazon began as a bookshop. It was originally called Relentless. It employs just 14 workers for every $10 million in revenue that it turns over. Books only make up 7% of their profits. Within the company, original writing is known as verbiage. Last year in the UK, they paid $2.4 million in corporate taxes against sales of $4.3 billion. Amazon should approach small publishers the way a cheetah would pursue a sickly gazelle, CEO Jeff Bezos said, picking up on my jungle theme. They really are evil bastards, and I loathe them, I fear them, and of course I use them all the time because they're wonderful. That's the problem. It occurs to me incidentally that their business model is not just a threat to bookshops. I would have said that pretty much all shops are going to disappear in my lifetime, and I don't even plan to live that long. And then there's Kindle, Kobo, Nook, and all the other e-books cutting into publishers' margins or cutting them out altogether. Self-publishing, Amanda Hocking, Hugh Howey, E.L. James, finding that they can manage without publishers altogether. It does make me think. I am, I suppose, a brand. Alex Rider certainly is, and according to the Amazon website, I can create, publish, and distribute my books in print worldwide on my own. I can earn royalties of up to 80% for my verbiage. It does make me wonder, what have publishers ever done for me? Well, not a lot, obviously, except Walker Books did publish me for 5 years when my sales barely made it worthwhile. It's strange how when I began my career as a children's author, I was treated as a child. Do you think you can find your way back on the tube by yourself, they asked me, in all seriousness. I was 27. But they published books that only sold 5,000 or 10,000 copies, and they always smiled when I came in. And when I finally wrote the book that launched me, which was Stormbreaker in 1999, they knew what they'd got, and they got behind it. They created a jacket that was strikingly, more importantly, a logo that gave my hero, Alex Rider, both presence and attitude. They gave me a 3-book deal and helped to develop the series with marketing, advertising, and launch parties, one in a Cuban cafe, another in the Peruvian embassy. I'm not sure if parties actually sell books, and I always have to remember that at the end of the day, I'm the one paying for them. But what do you get if you publish online? A cyber party with everyone meeting on Facebook? It rather embarrasses me that she's here today because it's a very good rule for writers never to compliment their publishers in public. But I do have a terrific editor in Jane Winterbottom who has worked on all 10 books and who has argued with me violently, usually about the levels of violence. Walker developed a website to support the books. Later on, they produced graphic novels based on the books, and they've so far rejacketed the series twice to keep it up to date. The Alex Rider series has now sold 16 million copies worldwide, and I really have to say I'm sorry that Walker is here because I hate to have to admit how much I owe them, in much the same way that The House of Silk, my Sherlock Holmes novel, owes much of its success to the way it has been packaged and presented by Orion. They've arranged an event at the London Book Fair just 2 days from now, and we're announcing the title of the sequel. We have a plan, a strategy, which will hopefully steer the book to success when it is published in October. I love publishers because I love books, and I think they're both undervalued in this argument about digital publishing.
Hello. So, in 1976, I was a punk rocker. And I had a band, because that was what you did. And we were talked by the man that we bought our instruments from into joining the Musicians' Union. And all I really remember about joining the Musicians' Union was that they gave you these yellow stickers to put on your instrument cases. And they said, "Home taping is killing music." What they meant was that the ability of the public to reproduce on cassettes the same music that had been previously only sold as objects, as vinyl, was going to put musicians out of business and stop them from making money. And of course, home taping did kill music, or a kind of music, and it was an incredibly long and healthy death. People who used home taping and cassettes to make mixtapes, to spread music around. People who found new music through mixtapes would have been very surprised to know they were killing music, especially when the arrival of the compact disc meant that we all had to go out and buy all the music we already owned all over again, making everybody very rich. Money was being made, lots and lots of money. But it was a blip. Changing the subject, I'm completely fascinated by calendars. There's a story about a man who spent a ridiculous amount of money on a job lot of old calendars and had nowhere to put them, and filled his house with them, calendars in the kitchen, stacks of them, and his wife told him he was an idiot. She said, "They're old calendars, nobody wants them." And he said, "You may think that if you like, but if 1993 ever comes back, I'm going to clean up." So, long before he died, I remember talking to Douglas Adams about ebooks, long before there were ebooks. But Douglas had predicted and warned and described ebooks in The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and it was obvious that they would be along one day. And I asked him if he thought that the inevitable ebooks would mean the end of the book, the end of the physical object. And Douglas said, "Neil, remember that sharks were around at the same time as the dinosaurs. Some sharks predate the dinosaurs, but they're still around. And that's because nothing has ever come along that was quite as good at being a shark